Welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast, your ultimate ride into the world of motorcycles. Visit cyclesworldwide.com where we offer a completely free marketplace for everything motorcycles. Join our One Gang community where you can connect, share info, and swap stories with riders from all over the world. Join for free at cyclesworldwide.com and be a part of the One Gang community right now. On today's episode of the One Gang Worldwide podcast, we have the pleasure of hosting Janet Kersey, an instrumental figure behind the scenes of Bike Week and Biketoberfest, events that bring together hundreds of thousands of motorcycle enthusiasts from around the globe. Today, Janet will give us a behind-the-scenes look at the planning and execution of these events, share some of her favorite moments from past events, and discuss the impact of the festival on the local and global motorcycle community. So get ready to ride into the world of Bike Week and Biketoberfest with Janet Kersey, right here on the One Gang podcast.
I get obituaries sent to me. Because in a newspaper, it's written about this person's life. And Bike Week is in their obituary. That they went to it, they enjoyed it, they loved it. They have so many fond memories of it. And so when I think that the last words of your life, this event is written in, that's something.
One Gang Worldwide podcast, brought to you by Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping. Since 1978, Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping has been the trusted name in transporting motorcycles safely across the country. With custom designed pallets and air ride trailers, your bike is secure and protected every step of the way. By choosing Keyboard Motorcycle Shipping, you're supporting a dedicated small business that prioritizes quality and customer satisfaction. Ship with a peace of mind, knowing your motorcycle is in expert hands. Visit keyboardmotorcycleshipping.com for more information. Now, let's dive into today's episode.
Hey guys, welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast. We got a great one today. We have Janet Kersey. She's the Executive VP and COO of Daytona Regional Chamber of Commerce. We are going to have some stories for you today. So welcome aboard, Janet. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm just delighted to be here. Thank you for having me. It's a great opportunity to talk about Bike Week.
Nice. We're happy to have you, Janet. Let's start from the beginning. I want to hear about where you grew up, how you grew up. You had mentioned you're a native, and so what you did prior to what you do now.
Well, I am a native of Daytona Beach, Florida, and very proud of it. I was born a long time ago, like back in the 50s, late 50s, but
the good era.
my parents raised me here in Daytona Beach, Florida, and Daytona Beach has always been an exciting place. And it was right about the time when the Speedway was coming about, and the new racetrack was being built, which was the Daytona International Speedway. And my parents, I have to say, they worked hard all their life, but they sure enjoyed life too. So there were always parties at our house. My mom was planning parties. Nice. We were going places. We were doing things. So I kind of grew up in that whole atmosphere of let's go do something. Let's enjoy life. And so from her process of how she used to plan for everything, and they were always at our house too. So it kind of gave me the insight of, boy, this is kind of fun. I get to do all these fun things. And as a kid, when you would travel around Florida and go different places, the big thing was swimming in different pools, right?
Yeah.
Pool.
Right.
So that I kind of got started with that whole, life's about fun and let's have some.
That's right.
That's cool. You inherited the social butterfly tendencies from your parents, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
So what were you up to? What did your career life look like before you got into what you're doing now?
Well, I actually had a lot of different experiences in high school. Of course, we went to work when we were in high school back then. But I think the biggest thing that got me really moving in the events world was I started to work for the local beer distributorship, which was SR Incorporated. They sold 3 beers at the time, Miller Lite and Lowenbrau. That was it. But Miller Brewing Company was always engaged in events and activities. And they used to do a lot of things on premise, like dart tournaments, pool tournaments, those types of things. Well, of course, the Daytona Beach area really got into spring break. And the drinking age back then was about 18 years old. It was before it was moved to 21. I know. So we actually moved from doing all that. So I started with those kind of plans and just doing those different tournaments and games and activities. that were brought down from the brewery to our distributorship. Our distributorship, Gary and Michelle Connors ran the organization, and they were very progressive in events and activities. They were also very active people. So I had the responsibility of helping them to get these things coordinated. And we did all these different events and tug of wars on the beach. We brought the Light Beer All-Stars in.
Cool.
Nice.
And then Miller Brewing Company actually progressed into the Olympics, and they were one of the first big distributors or dealership beer companies that got into the Olympics. And so they would send down these packets that you could do Olympic style events in your own community.
Wow.
And it was all laid out, the whole plan. So I would read these and I would think, God, this is really cool. This is
How
fun. So
cool.
we'd actually do them at the same time the Olympics were going on to help support their sponsorship, which was really fun. I mean, we learned a lot of things from that. And then, of course, when spring break started to hit paydays here, they got very involved in spring break. So I had the opportunity to work with them bringing MTV down here. So we brought MTV into the community, and that's when Starship, Mr. Mister, Eddie
Yeah, I
Money,
remember
all
that.
those guys.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Really.
On
I mean,
MTV, we used to watch it.
Yeah,
Back when it
and
was
they
music.
recorded those concerts from the beach
Yep.
in our band shell. So being part of all of that, being part of what the corporate culture does, as well as engaging things in the local community, really gave me that groundwork for, hey, you can make a career out of events.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it really wound up a pretty cool thing. And then Michelle Connors, who was the primary of that organization, taught the brewery. And then we had gotten Coors from them too. Then we brought Coors down into Florida for the first time. Taught both the breweries into getting engaged in NASCAR racing.
Yep. Wow.
And
Nice.
they had Bobby
Yeah.
Allison and Bill Elliott. And
Nice.
Bill Elliott was just this young guy. He came down from the woods of Georgia. He had on, stiff blue jeans, those old stiff
Yes.
Levi's that you had to
Yeah.
wash and beat with a rock and all that.
Yeah.
Right, just a really young guy. So we got all engaged in all that with the breweries again. And when you get into the corporate world and you start working on events, it's a whole different level, just a
Oh, yeah.
completely different level. And then when I left there, I started working at a brand new hotel, which was the Marriott. And the Marriott was at the time, it's now the Hilton, but it's that right on the beach, right by the band shell. And those owners really wanted to get engaged in events. Well, when I hooked up with Marriott Corporate, I began to find international organizations because they're always trying to bring groups into the area. So they have all these associations and groups and everything else. And there was an international events group. And I was like, that's really interesting, which was Lisa Uckman, I think her last name was. And they were very engaged in sponsorships and what it took to put sponsorships together from a national perspective. Our NASCAR company was engaged in that because, of course, the Speedway was here.
Right.
They were progressing really quickly. So they got engaged in all of that. And I began to start going to these big conferences and learning all about sponsorships. And so that really hooked me up with how to get a corporate sponsor engaged, because corporate sponsors really became the catalyst for making things much bigger.
Of course.
It's a much bigger perspective, their contacts, their people out there, all the things that they do, which was really interesting. And then the International Festivals and Events Association was another one that I found, which was a world board for world events. So you had Kentucky Derby Festival, you had football in there, you had the Chinese Cherry Blossom Festival from overseas.
Wow.
That had to have been really cool.
I started to really, get engaged in all these different events. And so I got myself on that board. I practically begged them, of course.
Yeah. How cool.
Got myself on that board and I eventually wound up leading their foundation. So I learned a lot from that as well, which
Right.
was really awesome. But in the Daytona Beach area, Bike Week was coming along right about the same time that the races were. So the races on the beach back in the 30s were like really something. I mean, that's what made us world
That's right.
famous.
That's right. Very
That's
historic.
really the catalyst that attracted everything. And certainly the France family was, really big in that. They talked to government. We found some old papers at our chambers that was from a board meeting that said, our board wanted to allocate $1,700 to the new organization called NASCAR to help them these big races.
That's
So it's kind of
awesome.
interesting
Oh,
when
yeah,
you
yeah,
see
yeah.
it's like,
Those old
wow, yeah,
documents
this has
like
been
that.
going on a
Sure.
while. Yeah, so the history of it is just remarkable.
Seriously.
Or they and then I started to work for Bruce Rossmeyer and Daytona Harley Davidson as well. I was in tourism for a while. For 20 years I was in the tourism business. I learned a lot about marketing and
Mhm.
destination marketing
Yeah.
and how to bring people here. But then working for Bruce and Bruce Rossmeyer, their family was very progressive in the motorcycle world, and we opened a museum on Beach Street. In their first original store, we turned it into the museum. So I had a chance to do research and history on what actually started the motorcycle races and everything in the community. And it was just fascinating to look at some of that stuff because we found out in some of that research that the races were going and they were really big things. But in January 1937, the motorcycle races were going on as well. And when you look back in the history books, you saw these giant crowds of people
Right.
looking at these motorcycle races. And you're like, what? Wait a minute, you got NASCAR over here. Why did all these people come? And it come to find out that, the motorcycle riders, they would just do the craziest things on the beaches. And they were the ones that crashed because they were just hauling rear, just
Right.
booking there flying through the turns. And so people got excited about that. They were doing pyramids on motorcycles between races. They were planking on motorcycles. So the crowds loved it. And they would just flock in to see these motorcycle racers on the beach, which we understand help pay for NASCAR races,
Really?
which
Wow.
was
Yeah.
interesting. So it didn't do all of it, but it helped
Yeah.
it to garner money to continue the same way.
Right, right.
So, I mean,
That's
just
wild.
being part of that history and learning all that stuff was really
That's
cool.
amazing, especially growing up in Daytona. So I mean, you've been, you're definitely home based, and now you see all this stuff going through, and you're a part of all these changes going on. So that's fantastic.
Super cool.
Let me ask you this:
Yes.
transition into your role now as executive VP and COO of the Daytona Chamber of Commerce. What were some of the responsibilities that when you initially went to this position that you were overseeing in your day-to-day operations?
Well, I can tell you, it is a major thing to have to do. And the chamber had gone through a renaissance itself. It had a longtime executive of the chamber that really, George Mirabal, he helped to establish Bike Week into the type of event that you see. Because back in, I think it was like, oh my gosh, I think right around the 80s, it was that
Mhm.
Bike Week really didn't have, I mean, because these races and everything that were going on, for years and years started to draw this really like dark kind of crowd and things were just exploding all over the place. Carl Big Daddy Rat was doing some really cool stuff down on the boardwalk. He had a business down there. But the residents were like, these is starting to scare me.
Right.
There's not great people coming in town and all these gangs and stuff
Right.
were showing up and,
Yeah.
starting to get a little rough. So he, and the police and the citizens just wanted to say, that's it. We're done with it. We don't want it here anymore. But George Mirabal, the president at the time of the chamber, he kind of walked around and said, wait a minute, there's a great economic benefit we can gain from this if we put it together, if we coordinate as a group, if we bring the community together, start to put some parameters around it. And, we can really make it something powerful and from a very much different perspective.
Right.
So he gathered a lot of community leaders, put together the Bike Week Festival Task Force back in the 80s. I had the opportunity to sit on that because I was engaged in so many other events around the community at the time to help shape it and bring it into force. And he did an amazing job. I mean, he really laid all the groundwork with the community to make it the event that you see today because it could have been long gone.
Right.
And a lot of the things that he started still were engaged in that. So having the event experience that I had, being part of the community for so long, being on the formation of this board, watching how this board worked, you could imagine for when the chamber changed personnel and he retired, who was going to sit there? Because our new president, a phenomenal president of the chamber, just like a legend in the chamber industry, came from New York. She knew nothing about motorcycles,
Bike week, right,
motorcycle
right.
events, nor did she want to. No, in the chamber, it's enough, really. But we just, someone said, oh, you got to get this girl, Janet Kersey. She works at the Rossmeyers. She knows all about this stuff.
Nice.
And I kind of interviewed with her and we really clicked. We were like the yin and yang. We
Perfect.
just really clicked really well with each other. So I was hired specifically to run Bike Week. And
Really?
Bike Week.
Really?
course,
So your position initially
yeah.
was strictly that's awesome. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
So that really put me in the seat, and I really see it as a great honor. I mean, when I think of all the folks like the Francis and George and all these other big community leaders that have sat on this thing and guided it and fought for it and changed it, and hated it and loved it and sweat over it and all these other things, and now I'm here. It was like, well, plus when I was with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I also did this other little thing. I started Biketoberfest. So the
No
Biketoberfest
way.
thing. But when I started working there, they said, dude, we have these races that end the season in October, and we have this big bike week in March. Can you do something about these races so we can make the ones in October like the one in March? And so I started that event and got that going. So we got that up and running as well, which was part of it too. So to start an event like Biketoberfest and see it's been going on for so many years
It's
now, like my
awesome.
little baby. Matter of fact, I was interviewed by Easy Rider magazine when they were here during Bike Week, and they said, so you're starting this event, Biketoberfest. What is it all about? And we were talking, and I happened to be pregnant at the time. And he goes, so you're going to be a birth mother, and you're the birth mother of Biketoberfest. And he print that in Easy Rider magazine.
That's crazy.
No way.
Well, today still call me the birth mother
birth
of
mother.
Biketoberfest. Oh, and by the way, she does Bike Week too. But, it's those kind of things that kind of give you the knowledge and the experience and the understanding. And you've really got to know all the groundwork. You have to know how to do major events. You have to know how to work with corporations. You have to know how to bring communities together. You have to know how to deal with the neighbors and the politicians and the businesses and just understand where everybody's really coming from. And that just comes from experience. So that's how I kind of got this seat that I'm in today. I just feel so honored to be able to follow such a long legacy. I mean, it's 84 years old now. And
Janet,
that
let me ask you a quick question before Ben gets into his question. What was that selling point like when she had you sitting and you guys were sitting in the room together, and she's offering you the Bike Week position to be in charge of Bike Week? Give us a little snippet from that, and like how did she sell you on that?
You know what's interesting? And this is just so crazy, and it's not bragging or anything like that. She's so good. She'd already done all of her research before I got there. She knew everything about me. She knew exactly what I did. Then that's just the kind of professional she was. So for her, it was sitting down and do we click?
Oh, got it.
Do we click? Because she'd heard all the history. She asked the typical, interview questions. I could tell her all about Bike Week and my history with all of that. But for her, it was like she really wanted a partner moving forward that she clicked with that can help, get her into the community, get this up and running. And at that time, we were heading into the 75th anniversary of Bike Week. So it was critical that the right person be in that seat.
Absolutely.
And at the right time, because the planning and everything else had to happen. But, her board members were telling me about, because I'd worked with a lot of them too.
So did she even have to sell you? It sounds like you were pretty excited to take the role.
Well, she kind of did, because, of course, when I went back to the Rossmeyers, they counter offered and all of that. And I was like,
right.
Yeah.
I could tell she was ready. She wanted me. And but she's that driven of a person. I mean, when she wants something, she pretty much gets it.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
She's an inspiration too. She's just that amazing, forward thinking, let's go, we're going to do this kind of thing. So
yeah, that's awesome. My wife has a mentor that's very similar to your relationship, it sounds like, and it's been really cool to watch that relationship grow over the years. So Serge and I went to, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You can respect them because they've done so much
That's
themselves,
right.
and on a big scale, she's widely known. Like I said, she's a legend in the chamber industry. So
That's so cool. Serge and I went to Biketoberfest, the last one, and I was looking up some information on the way up there, and it was the first one was in 91 or 92. Is that right?
well, actually, the first one I rolled out was in '91, but it wasn't called Biketoberfest.
That's
It
what I
was
was, yeah, fall tour or something.
Yeah, it was the fall cycle scene because that was the races at the end. And I was
Mhm.
working with American Iron Magazine at the time. I got their attention that I was
Nice.
trying to do some Buzz
Yeah.
Canter
He
was
was on our
Yeah,
show. Buzz is a friend of
that's
the
our
show. So
guy.
yeah.
yeah.
Love
So he came
that
down
guy.
and, he kind of was talking to me and helping me. And he's very engaged with Bike Week and all that stuff. And he said, Janet, he said, I just don't think you should do an event for a motorcycle that has the word fall in it.
Oh, good point.
Right. Like, I know that's the race, but
That's
fall
funny.
just doesn't feel right. So he was
Buzz
kind of
is the
like
man.
maybe, call it Biketober, something like that. The Main Street merchants, I got them involved with it, and they were doing Bike Fest on Main Street. So we had the fall cycle scene. We had a few merchants because at
Mhm.
first they all didn't really want to get into it. They're like, no, you're gonna ruin the Bike Week crowds. We're just gonna split them. We're not interested. So, but there was Teresa Doan on Main Street. She owns a lot of, she used to own a lot of Main Street. Very progressive woman down there. She's like, no, I'm going to open up my shops and we're going to do some stuff. And they called theirs Bike Fest. So when I brought
Mhm.
my group together, I had a Biketoberfest development committee, and I said, well, this was the advice that we got. Maybe Biketober, Main Street did Bike Fest, and so one of the people in the audience said, why don't you call it Biketoberfest?
Right.
And it's one of those things where they first say it, you're like, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, click.
That's the name,
Yep.
but the first time it was Biketoberfest was in 1993. So we count it
Mhm.
from that year. And people always say, well, it's such and such an anniversary, but in events, you have to count the first year. Even though it's
Mhm.
the inaugural year, you don't count it like a birthday. So you wouldn't take 2024 minus 1993. That's how old it is.
Right.
You
Right.
count the
Gotcha.
first year of the event.
First year of the event. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So between Biketoberfest and Bike Week, okay, I guess from a 10,000-foot view, could you give us kind of, because I'm sure there's so many details, can you give us the broad scope of what goes into planning and executing such an insanely large event?
Well, Bike Week especially because it's so big. It's the kickoff of the season. It's 10 days versus like 4 for Biketoberfest. It's got major corporate engagement in it. It's a big deal for the Speedway because they run all the major races. It's
Mhm.
the first event out of the box for the season, and a lot of other events will judge their event on how well Biketoberfest comes off.
Mm.
And then you've got corporate partners like Harley Davidson and all of those folks that, that's their big kickoff too. They're planning all of their things. So you have to be in this
Mhm.
whole cycle of things that take place. And for us in the Daytona Beach area, the date become critically important because we'll run the 24 hours of Daytona. We move into the Daytona Speed Weeks and the Daytona 500. So this is our track schedule.
Right.
It's rolling down, and then then they have to convert. They need 2 weeks to convert the track into the cycle races and build the Supercross and everything out there. But what people don't
In
understand
2
is
weeks.
it's 2 weeks to actually convert the track and build the Supercross out there.
Wow.
So we have to have that. But you say, well, that's an easy schedule to follow. But interestingly enough, the Daytona 500 is such an enormous, huge, big thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's Super Bowl worthy. But you think about the Final Four, Super Bowl itself, all those
Sure.
things in the national scope of
Right.
major events
Mhm.
start to date. So if the NFL expands itself and it pushes their dates down, it's going to push everybody else down because you have to
Right.
fight for the TV rights.
That's
And you
right.
wouldn't run the Daytona 500 when the Super Bowl is
Correct.
running.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
Makes sense, right? So
Right.
there's this whole big formula schedule and the way sports move around and change around and all this stuff. We usually kind of only have like a year and a half to get those dates out before the next event. takes place. So for us,
Man,
it's like setting those dates right off the bat is this major thing. And everybody wants to know. Hotels want to book the dates.
course.
Everybody wants to
right,
know when to book their plans. Timeshare
right.
people hate it no matter what,
I,
'cause you
I,
never
I
get
was
the
gonna
right
say
week.
the timeshare, and I remember when it changed when the Super Bowl got pushed into February, and I know I had some friends who had timesharing places in Daytona, so it was always set for Bike Week, and then it got shifted, and they lost their they lost their time because of it. So
Yeah. Yeah, but that's just it. That's how it rolls. It's all based on these major, major deals with millions and hundreds of millions of
hmm
dollars that are
Yeah,
invested, schedules and everything else. So it's a big deal just to get past the date. But from the events perspective, we really start working. We try to get those dates at least a year and a half out because once I get those dates, I'm already starting to work on the next event. So like this year for Bike Week, I had promotional materials out for Bike Week 2025.
wow,
wow,
So in March of 24, I already had all the dates set. I have to get a logo approved, a logo design, the colors, the perspective. We have
right.
corporate contracts that have to be written. So that means you're working with, big attorneys that are out there. So,
Mhm.
for instance, if I send a contract to Harley Davidson, I get back a 90-page document of
Boom.
all the legal stuff in it, and
Uh,
I gotta go, I'm not selling the motorcycle. I
yeah,
right,
legalese. Sheesh.
but they've got you have to protect their trademarks and their brands and I can't use it for anything that I'm not allowed to be using
right.
it for. And I have to swear that, the banner guy, I have to make the street banners and I have to get the
Hmm.
artwork and I have to get, if it's on a city road, I have to get the city to approve it. If it's on a state road, I have to get the state of Florida to approve it. So it has
Man,
to go through all these, and they all have rules and regulations on what you can print, how big it can
and then
be,
their
what
branding rules
materials. Yeah,
so
e-
specific. Yeah,
even the materials that it have to be because we're in that type of a
Of
state, right? If a
course,
storm comes through, I can't have a banner falling off a street
that's right.
and hitting
right,
someone. So it has to be
right.
made by a certain type of material. So
Wow.
so it takes all that coordination to really start to get those things rolling. But we do pocket guides, we do treasure hunts, we do posters. So of course the artist has to create the artwork for the poster. We have to get the new dates that are on there. We have to get the corporate logos that are right and approval for that. It has to
Hmm.
go through an approval process with corporate to make sure it's positioned the way it's supposed to be. Same with the
Whew.
banners and permits and
Hmm.
all those types of things. So the work for like Bike Week and everything starts really about a year and a half in advance and it rolls through the entire year because it just depends on what's coming up. We try not to do it all at once,
Right.
obviously.
Hmm.
But there's websites. We have to update websites. We have to have website contracts. We have to have logos. We're switching sponsors. We have to get support for the posters, support for the pocket guides. When we're doing the treasure hunt, we have to go out to location. We're pick location. Then when we
Man.
flip those posters and pocket guides, we have to think about distribution because our
Hmm.
local hotels want them, our businesses want them. So you could imagine Bike Week takes place throughout the entire county.
Right.
So our
Yeah.
staff will be running crazy through the whole county just trying to get these things out there for people to pick
Sheesh.
up for the
Absolutely.
event, right? And
Sheesh.
it's enormous,
It's
and
enormous.
it's enormous to try to get all of that done. And of course, we do a master plan, what's called a master plan for the city of Daytona Beach. And what that is the only businesses that can participate as far as vendors and,
Hmm.
retail and things like that are ones that are in our redevelopment area. So we have to know the map of each redevelopment area. There's 3 of them here, which is Main Street, Beach Street, and Mary McLeod Bethune. So we have to know each of those areas and reach out to each of those businesses so they could submit plans and applications to participate in the event. And then we have
Man.
to review each of those plans for each location because there are rules and regulations to each of those.
Right.
And of course, you have to have so many feet between a food tent and a regular tent. You have to have
Right.
safety features that are installed, like the little rubber things you see over certain mats. You
Yep.
have
Right.
to, you can only have so much size tent. We do our own welcome center too. So we have to get our own welcome center, our own location, our own people. We get volunteers from our community and our ambassadors with the chamber. to actually work that welcome tent, so we got to have a
Yeah.
schedule for them. We got to have that in
Right.
line with the way it's supposed to be
Man.
throughout the whole event.
Yeah.
Also there's, let me see, of course we do t-shirts for our volunteers and our staff to make sure they're well. So it says staff, so people know to ask them questions, and it's okay if they're telling you questions, they're the
Right.
right people. So we
Mhm.
get all those out as well. We do collector coins for the treasure hunt. So we have to, or actually order those before the Chinese New Year because, they shut down for a year
Right.
per month. So those have to be designed and made and approved by that sponsor, which is AmSoil. Again, for the logo, so you have to have all these things in place. And so it's just an ongoing process that throughout the
Yeah.
entire year, you have all these little things. And then you have to communicate with your communities. So we have to have public meetings because it's part of, the city of Daytona Beach. So we legally promote the public meetings. We bring the public in and we say, okay, here's the people that want to do these activities.
Mhm.
Here's what they're planning on their property, so you know what to expect, what's coming up.
Mhm.
Here's what the marketing's going to be, because we work with our tourism bureau to set all the marketing dollars, the marketing programs, from social media to print to digital, all these
Mhm.
different things. So we work
That
with
was the second part of my question, was the promotion and what on the promotion side, what have you seen as far as effectiveness and success? And I guess it's a different game now than it was 15
absolutely.
years ago. So
Yeah, I mean,
what part of that campaign is the best now?
well, we spend about $100,000 is the hub board. It's called the Halifax Area Ad Authority in our community spends about
Mhm.
$100,000 on it. But you figure it's $1 million bed tax investment. So they spend 100,000 and they get about $1 million back in bed tax.
Wow.
Not a bad
No,
investment.
not
Not a
at
bad
all.
investment. Yeah.
But they really are the ones that kind of lay out all the groundwork and everything for it. So, but it's really moved a lot to digital. There's a lot of digital marketing that goes into it. All the social media where it used to be print and you
Right.
get print
Mhm.
stories and all this stuff. They also look for specific groups, so they can go to high influencer groups to do
Okay.
advertising marketing. We still do some print. We do digital ad, those types of things. There's a few like women writers will do some print because they still have a good solid base there too. So the ones that have some good, leverage will do that. But I can tell you that back in the day, the corporations used to sign on to us for the exposure because we make them official sponsors. So
Mhm.
we trademark the logo, so nobody else can use it. And that's something else we have to do. We have to go after people that try to use the logo that don't,
Oh man,
don't
they're
have
not
a
authorized.
You mean the
Well,
ones
yeah.
that sell their
Watch
illegal
talking.
T-shirts and all that stuff? Those?
Yeah, we got to make sure that nobody can do it. So we have our own producers of the legal shirts, the t-shirts, so nobody else can print them or anything like that. But you can imagine, I mean, they're selling shirts all across the county,
Of course.
actually all across all of our Northeast and Central Florida. The event's grown
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
much. So,
Man.
we have to do a lot of those types of things as well, which is, it just gets great. I mean, I could go on and on and on and
Yeah,
on.
for sure.
There's
Yeah.
so much.
Janet, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, how do you balance the needs and expectations of like the attendees, the local businesses, and city officials during the week? How is that balanced? Because you have to really take care of everybody in this matter. So how does that work?
Well, it's, you speak to the audience that speaks to you, and you answer the questions that they want to know. I mean, you can't, because the thing about Bike Week is there's a lot of perceptions out there, and people will say, "Oh, it's dying," and it's like, no, it's not dying.
It's not
It's
dying.
changed. Well, the boomers are all aging out. So they're aging, but younger people are coming in, and you have to
Right.
trust that the major corporations like Harley Davidson, which is an international company, well aware of this,
Right.
Yeah. Right.
do everything they can to get those motorcycles out. But you just have to speak to the group that you're speaking to. So if the residents say, "I don't like this, I don't like that, this is bothering us," we have to say, "We hear you, and here's what
Mhm.
we're going to do about it." But, one of the things was the impressions that were going out into the nation, and it was like, because Bike Week has some things,
Sure.
family friendly,
Right.
basically. And so we just assure the community that we are handling the marketing and advertising. We're going to put the messages out whenever anything happens. The sources are us, and we're always going to put our best foot forward when it comes to Bike Week. So you see the ads that go out, they're clean ads, they're good ads. Our pocket guides are clean and good. We don't put any impressions out there that does not look like a good professional image.
Right,
And
right.
a lot of our corporate sponsors want that
Of
too. They don't
course.
want the,
Yeah, you don't want raunchy stuff
right.
pasted all over your
We
city.
there. It's
Right, right.
okay. So if they want us to scale back on things or address certain things, we absolutely want to do that for them.
Understand.
We have a lot of people in the community that love Bike Week and that really support Bike Week. And, it's everything to them because some people work jobs when Bike Week is here. Because working for Harley Davidson, Bruce Rossmeyer's, I can tell you in advance of the event, you have to find people to hire to work part-time. You have to do drug screenings and all those types of
Yep.
things on them as well. You have to do training meetings because most of them don't even know what they need to do or how they need to address certain things.
Sure. Right.
You've got to order in money because when you want to make change for things
Oh,
that
yeah.
selling, you can't just go to the bank and pick up 50,000
Right.
rolls of quarters, right?
Right.
So money has to be ordered in advance. You even things like it sounds crazy, but toilet paper.
Of
You're going
course.
through
Yeah.
10,000 more rolls of toilet paper. I can tell you when I was at the museum, I had ordered 5 mop buckets. And at the end of the event, I had 2. So
Oh,
like, what
Wow.
the mop bucket?
People
you know?
snacking mop bucket.
But you have to do
That's
mop
funny.
head replacements, toilet paper,
Yeah,
paper
yeah,
towels,
for
all
sure.
those kinds of things that, businesses are having to buy in. Typically, what a business will do also is like paint their curbs, plant new plants, spruce up their buildings. A lot of them have to put up fencing, signage, all those things. So for the businesses, it's a lot of work as well. And we have to make sure that all these things get passed and approved and in the public eye. Once that master plan gets done too, we do with the public meeting and we talk about all of that. Then that plan moves over to the city commission, and the city commission has the final say on it. But in the meantime, all these businesses are waiting to contract with vendors because you can't contract with a vendor if you're not sure if this is going to be allowed, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, even all that is rolling in place. So it's this big circle of environment. And all has to blend together. And we're sort of like the center of it. We call it the sane center. We like to be the sane center.
The sane center. Nice.
Going on. Here's what we're doing.
Right,
Here's
right.
how we're moving. This is not accurate. Let me tell you what is accurate. You can help us out by using good language, not bad language when people come.
Hey guys, the show will be back in 1 minute right after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, One Gang, tired of feeling like your butt's taking more of a beating than your bike on those long rides? Introducing Butt Buffer, the ultimate solution to saddle soreness. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. These cushions are made from medical-grade viscoelastic polymer, scientifically crafted to eliminate pressure points and keep your circulation flowing. No more numb nuts or numb butts. And here's the best part. Butt Buffer cushions are made right here in the U.S. for the last 30 years. From Harleys to Hondas, we've got a cushion to fit your ride perfectly. Plus, with styles ranging from sleek pebble polymer to luxurious sheepskin, there's a Butt Buffer for every rider's style. Get your Butt Buffer today at buttbuffer.com. That's buttbuffer.com. Your butt will thank you, and you'll ride longer and happier. We've got your butt covered.
Have you seen the demographics change over the years, like with everything?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I still think the strength of the event lies in the boomers, definitely. They're the ones that seem to have embraced it the most. But it's just like you say, their kids are growing up. Their kids have money now. Their kids are coming to do this. So the kids are out there. They're riding. They've ridden all their life. Their parents rode. They ride. Now they're riding together.
Right.
We had one of because you work with a lot of
That's
different
neat.
companies too. And one company said they had done a review because they heard all this boomers are leaving, nobody's coming in. And they found that every generation comes to Bike Week. There's every single generation, and every single generation finds something of interest.
That's right.
which I thought that's kind of cool.
It
I
is
mean, maybe
cool.
the
It
boomers
is.
like this, but the millennials like doing
That's
this,
right.
you
That is
know,
really cool. Yeah.
so like this, and the Gen Zs like that. So it's
Mhm.
just like, wow, when you think about it, there's something for everyone. And at 84 years old, my gosh, it's been through so many
No
transitions. It's
doubt.
pretty strong. So it's good to see new
Yeah,
generations
it's
coming in.
important for our
One,
industry because it's we don't want it to die out. We want it to continue on and stay strong. So that's why we decided to do this show is the fact that we want to bring people out. We want to show others of great minds, great entrepreneurs, great inventors, great business owners, doing great things in this industry, so people can get inspired and continue the trend of moving the motorcycle industry forward. So that's awesome.
it's really true. You know, and one of the other things we found that Bike Week moves with the economy of the United
That's right.
States. When the economy of the United States is up, Bike Week's up. When the economy's down, it's down. It's kind of the biggest changes we saw was in, motorcycle riding used to be the cheap way to ride.
That's
You
right.
could get insurance, all this stuff. Insurance rates
Mhm.
started going up. Financing started changing. So, because motorcycles got bigger and better and all those types of
Mhm.
things. So, sales kind of come down a little
Mhm.
bit. But interesting enough, Harley Davidson, when they looked at it across the board, what they recognized, and this might ring true for each of you, but when we were kids, we got on our bicycle or tricycle and rode up and down our
You better believe
sidewalks
it.
and rode around neighborhoods and all those types of things. Well, as society changed and generations changed and our world changed, kids don't ride bicycles.
No, they have electric
Mm.
bikes now. They don't even pedal.
Aren't out there, our little kids are not out there on a sidewalk riding their trike
No.
and riding up and down the driveway, drive through neighborhoods. You really don't kind of see that as much. So it's like, wow, as if your first experience on two wheels and the joy that you got from learning how to ride a bike and that freedom of being
freedom.
on that bike was when you were very small.
That's right.
And you took that away.
That's right.
What happened? Right. So now, I mean, you could go into a Harley dealership and you will see these $700 little kid bikes. I mean, they're little bikes,
Yeah.
but they're motorized. And they
Yeah.
have some activities that are on motocross like track, right? That are safe. They got the helmets,
Mhm.
gear, these little motorized little bikes. They got the little nubby tires on them. But they're teeny tiny and they're getting like 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds and people back in. They came to our community one bike week and they went to one of our elementary schools, Orman Elementary, and they gave away a bunch of little bicycles
Nice.
to kids that didn't have bicycles. So,
Yeah.
again, they're just trying to
Get kids back
let's
on
keep
2
the
wheels.
freedom.
Right. This is how
Yeah,
these
let's
generations
keep
are gonna
it,
grow up to either ride or not ride. So if you're not riding a
right.
bicycle when you're young, you're not riding a motorcycle when you're older. That's the reality of
That's
it.
exactly right, because you remember that
You
joy.
better
And
believe
so
it.
you think it's not the baby boomers getting older, it's that we're not introducing
I
them
know.
to ride
Sucks.
as much as a little bicycle
Because it's easier to
anymore.
hand them the
Mhm.
phone and keep them busy than it is to teach them how to ride a bicycle so they can scoot around with their friends and actually be outside in the fresh air. I know it drives me
Yeah,
crazy when I see it. And now when
yeah,
I see the electric bikes, the kids are on the electric bikes, their phone is mounted in front and they're watching something as they're not even pedaling. So I mean,
I know.
they're not even tuned in into the air and the wind and the outside, the trees and everything else. They're still
No,
tuned into the electrical side of it while not even getting any exercise on top of it.
that's true.
It's like, you got to be kidding me, man. Please stop.
'Cause
Weird.
I remember the freedom of a bicycle and the
Oh yeah.
not falling over when those training wheels came
Cool.
off and the lightning
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
So
Mountain
interesting.
biking too. We
Everything.
were just
Yeah.
talking with Tim Sutherland. He's a race team owner, and we were talking about that just yesterday. Actually, he went in about Strider and those
Yeah.
bikes without the pedals, and it's pretty interesting that topic to come up again. But speaking of kids,
Yeah.
safety. So, can you elaborate a little bit about the collaboration between the chamber, between potentially contractors, clubs, local businesses? What's going on behind the scenes to ensure the safety and security aspects of the event?
Well, that's critically important to us and our community. And, we've got a lot of experience with large crowds, even from the Speedway and all of
Mhm.
that. Our police department and sheriff's office are so in tune with what goes on because nowadays, when you do major events, you have pre-cons with the FBI
Yeah,
comes
for sure.
in,
Wow, yeah.
major, because a lot of major security, CIA, all those guys come and meet with our police department, and police departments from all over actually come to our community as well. They support each other
Awesome.
when big things happen, and so we have others that come in, get deputized for the area, and but we have cameras everywhere. Our community is fully stocked with cameras all the way around it. Well-trained officers in our community used to handling large crowds like that to support Secret Service, FBI, CIA, all of those are here as well because that's a big national thing. If something happens, it could be really big for our
Yeah,
country as well.
huge.
So but I mean, you think about that too. So all those meetings are taking place prior to what happened here, as well. So, and like I said, just the experience that our community has with it, and so we're set up. I mean, it's because of Bike Week and all these things that we have these cameras and these abilities and these trainings and these
Yeah.
vehicles in our
Mhm.
community that we normally wouldn't have if we didn't have the event. I mean, we have medics on motorcycles during Bike
Yeah.
Week.
Yeah, I see
We
them
saw that.
around.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
No, you wouldn't have that in a community if you didn't have this event. And when you have major events like that, your community has to remain ready for as high as a volume as you get within your city. So if our
Mhm.
city gets 500,000 people that come to it, we have to have the resources and the abilities and the equipment to handle it at its highest capacity. So when they're gone, all that stuff is still here,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, it's kind of good for the community too, but
Absolutely.
and especially during COVID, of course, we all learned a lot with COVID. Bike Week got shut down its last day in 2020. Last day, we made it through all of it except the last day.
Wow.
And everything was closing down. Things weren't happening. A lot of events got canceled. We changed our whole protocol of how we deal with people, masks, the whole. We've been through all of that,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
For our community, and it was critically important to us. We made it our mission that as things started to lighten up and they started to really figure things out and it was going along, we had to do this event because we didn't get the
Mhm.
Daytona 500 that year. That
I
was one of
know. That's
those,
crazy.
it was,
Yeah.
it kind of ran but didn't run, different
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Or we were like, we're going to really just push the pedal to the metal. We came up with an entire safety plan. We worked with all our businesses. We said, we've got to get this done. We got to get this out of here. We got to get these reassurances done. And our local businesses were all in. Any safety precaution that they could have, they
Mhm.
put in place. And so we were the first major event to actually roll out in
That's
2021.
cool.
So we
Wow.
ran Bike Week 2021, didn't skip a year. We rolled right out, but it really took a community to come together,
I
and I think
believe it.
for the experience, right?
Right.
So
Hey,
we
Janet,
did that.
can I ask you a quick question going back to what you were saying earlier about the collaboration between FBI, CIA, and all these major, governmental forms coming into Daytona to be prepared for some lunatic to decide. But as far as the police departments are concerned, do you have outside police departments that help out? Because obviously,
Absolutely.
how does that? Can you just take us a little bit into that, like how that works?
Well, they do, because we don't have a big enough police force
Absolutely.
to handle all the hours and everything else. So, but our police department will pay police officers to come in, and there's a lot that just want to. They
Mhm.
love their vet. They want to be here. They want to support it. They come from the heart of we want to help make sure people are safe.
Cool.
We also produce. We do pins. Everybody does
Hmm.
the logo pin. We make a logo pin that just for police. So it's actually the logo and it says police department right on the pin. And we
That's
do
cool.
probably like 5,000 of them, give them to our local police department, and they give them to every officer that comes. So they all get these
Wow.
specialized logo and they collect them,
Yeah,
right?
that's
like a
cool.
big
You better
Yeah.
believe it.
of it. from what I understand, like in the military, I used to get coins and you collect the coins.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like what they do with the bike week pins. So they want to come
Yeah.
back, want to get their pin, they want to participate, which is
That's
really
cool.
So is
Super
it
smart.
surrounding area officers or is it just officers from all over?
It's all over.
All over. No
Yeah,
kidding.
all
How
over.
awesome.
Yeah,
How
it's
awesome.
all over. So it's really
The-
cool.
the-
And
One of the
we
good
had
things.
that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had that one year where we had a not so just like a person that had some real issues.
Mhm.
And then we had those issues on Main Street where they had attacked a couple of people in the night. And this was during Bike Week. And it was a big story and it could have gotten way out of hand, right? I mean, it was in the news, and these are things that can really just
Right.
you have to be ready for these emergency situations. But
Yeah.
our police department and all the investigators and everybody were so good that they caught this guy within 24 hours and he was already in jail
Awesome.
during a major motorcycle event. I mean,
Wow.
that we were able to say that, we have a phenomenal police department here. Your
Yeah.
safety is our highest concern. This guy was picked up and taken off the street within 24 hours so the event can continue to go. And
That's incredible.
we're doing
Yeah.
everything we can to keep you safe. We also work with the state of Florida because obviously when motorcycles are coming in and people are coming in with trailers and bikes and everything like that, it's important to the state that all these people stay safe as well. Because a lot of
Sure.
times put in traffic changes like Jacksonville, they put in traffic changes in their community because of all the volume that
Yep.
comes through. Other areas make changes to their traffic patterns and everything too, because they know it's a feeder, it's all coming
Right.
in. But the
Yep.
state of Florida actually puts out through Arrive Alive, they put out safety campaign.
Good.
There's another program that started with the state that Ride to Daytona for safety, and it's all about safety campaigns, a whole website. They give out materials when they're at the event. We give them free publicity. But now
Nice.
it's starting in
Very
Sturgis
cool.
and Myrtle Beach and some of the other areas. So where it was Ride to
Cool.
Daytona, now it'll be Ride to Sturgis, Ride to Myrtle Beach. And it's
Yeah.
taken on this whole national campaign just to keep people safe and just pay
Yeah.
attention,
And for
Right.
the most
And you got riders of every skill level
yeah, for
too.
sure.
every skill level.
And for the most part too is most bikers are let's just say that we're very patriotic. We support the police department. Of course you got your few and then you mix a little alcohol with that and then you got your heroes. But for the most part, most
Right.
people respect the police departments and they try to follow the rules and the laws of whatever's going on and try to obviously get home safe. You're on a bike, but that's why I love our community for that matter is for the most part, we're very respectful towards the police departments. And when we actually see something going on, if there's no police departments, they take care of it themselves. So if there's something bad going on, it's taken care of right away. So that's what's great about, the people who ride. We really look out after one another as far as safety is concerned.
It's the best people you will ever meet.
Agreed.
I'll tell you, I go out there and I walk around. Nobody knows who I am. I'm just another person walking around in the crowd and just kind of taking in everything that's going on. And I listen to them, the way they talk and the way they share and the things they do. It's the most remarkable people. They're just down home people. They tell you
Yeah.
stories. But one thing they do all have in common is their motorcycle. And if you ever heard anybody talk about their motorcycle, it's the funnest thing ever because they know every
Oh,
detail
yeah.
and what they added to it and where they got the paint job and what they're looking for out there.
That's right.
And,
That's
Yeah.
oh,
right.
I found this and you've got that. And where'd you get this? And how'd you do that?
Yeah, for sure.
Coolest thing.
Like
It really
we're
is.
like little kids, it's just like little kids with toys, and it's like, what do you got? What do you have? So, what?
And out of all those motorcycles, there's and here's what we say. There are no two alike
No.
unless they planned it that
That's
way.
right. That's right.
If they plan to have two alike, they will be alike, but there are you never see the same motorcycle.
A question both Ben and I are interested in finding out was the fact that this is such a massive event, and can you share maybe a memorable moment or some challenges you've encountered while setting up for Bike Week that you thought wasn't going to be fixed, but you got it done? And what was it?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question. I think the most challenges came for COVID.
COVID.
You know, when we were at COVID and we were trying to get the event up and running, and we just didn't know if we were going to get this through and make it happen, and sitting on pins and needles, but everybody came together and it happened. So
Right.
I think that was the most challenging out of all of it, that I didn't think it would go, but it did. But
Right.
you have to keep that mindset. It's like, we're going to do this, we're going to make it happen. We
Yeah.
made a bunch of changes throughout the process, but got it. So
All right, that's cool. That's cool. And as far as the infrastructure, the hotels and all that stuff, I know that Daytona over the years has rebuilt a lot of the hotels. A lot of the new people have come in, and it kind of that's been obviously very important. Also, is the infrastructure an important part?
Oh, absolutely. We've got just over 10,000 hotel rooms here, which is not, if you do the math, that's not quite enough, right? But residents open their homes to their friends and family that come down every year. We have vacation rentals, timeshares, condos, campgrounds. The Speedway has a campground out there, and that's a huge facility.
Right.
So, of
Yeah.
course, campgrounds there. We have other campgrounds in the area that open up. Other communities actually send us notes after the events, and hey, we got a great bike week this year.
That's so cool.
We try to keep everything here, but
Sure.
just capacity wise, there's
Yeah,
only
you can
so
only
much. But
handle
we
so
do
much.
know that, we know that people, even if they stay other places, what they'll tell you is they love riding in because they can do the old Florida back
That's
road.
right.
That they're doing
Yes.
back
Yeah.
to Florida, which are scenic and
Beautiful.
beautiful,
Yeah.
and
Beautiful.
especially in spring.
That's
And
right.
so they'll ride in, and then they'll do the main street and the destination Daytona and the Speedway and all the fun stuff, and then ride back out. And that they might not be staying here, but it
Yeah, but
counts,
the
right?
money is spent in Daytona, which is the important part for the economy and the boost of the so many small businesses that depend on this every single year. So it's awesome to see. And bikers, they support local businesses. They're all either some form of business owners or workers, and they understand that how important it is. And for the most part, they're not cheap people. They like to spend, and they like to buy T-shirts, and they like to buy food, and they like to drink. So it's a good thing for the small shops and the small businesses around the area.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They buy gas here. When they're sick, they buy things from Walgreens and places like
Yeah.
that, because they're just like normal life. They need other things. Some of them will buy furniture and have it shipped back home that they see here.
Right.
Kind of remarkable. And we tell the businesses, it's like, these are everyday people. They
That's
might
right.
be riding a motorcycle, but they like everyday things too. Show what you have, welcome them in, make them feel good. They'll spend money with
That's
you.
right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm curious. So Biketoberfest and Bike Week, are there any real differences in the planning and development of those events, or is it basically Biketoberfest is just scaled down a little bit?
Well, it does have the same basic platform to it, but Biketoberfest doesn't have the corporate draw that the first event does. Bike Week does in the history. It's a shorter time frame, so there's not as much activities and coordination of certain things that take place. But certainly, I built it on that same platform on Bike Week, just on a smaller scale. But it doesn't have that big corporate. For corporations to fill up their trucks, put them on the roads, send them down to your place, because they go by circuit too, because the bike circuits, all the events are moving around, and they, by the end of their season, Sturgis is kind of like their last big event. And then they
Yeah.
start planning for their activities for the next year too. So it doesn't have that. And Biketoberfest really draws more. It does draw people from across the country, but it's probably more Florida and Southeast, which is what it
More
was
local.
designed for. Because we kind of we said, everybody does all these events all year, and we have this big bike week, and, a lot of locals will be working, so they can't really enjoy it. So we said, come on down in the fall.
Right.
You've been through all your tourist season. Come on over here and have a good time, and we'll take care
Yeah.
of it.
I love
So we kind of
Biketoberfest.
did that up for,
I
yeah.
personally
Yeah.
love Biketoberfest. I think it's more for the locals, or the Floridians, Georgia, the closer area to us, because you're right. There's less with Bike Week, you have the big trucks, the big companies, the small businesses who are selling parts. They reserve tables and areas where they can come in and show their products. For Biketoberfest, it's a little bit scaled down. It's more of the local businesses that kind of showcase their stuff, and
Which is cool.
yeah, which is cool. Yeah. So I mean, both are awesome. Absolutely. For a local, I love the Biketoberfest. It's a little bit more chilled and a little bit more. The hotels are a little bit more affordable.
I'm glad you said that because that was the whole goal of it, really.
Okay.
We just wanted to say thank you to Florida and all the folks around and come on out for this nice last end of the
For
season.
sure, for
And
sure.
so I'm happy to hear that's working that
Yeah,
way.
it is.
That's cool. What other metrics do you measure the success of Biketoberfest and Bike Week on outside of the financial aspect, like community impact? What else is on your radar for measurement of success? What else?
The economic impact is the biggest thing for our community because it does infuse us with that and gives us opportunity to grow. But I think just having these type of events here, it allows us to have more dollars in state sales taxes and things like that we can use to improve roads. We can have better infrastructure. We have a better trained police department. Our hospitals work very closely with us, and we don't like to talk about the trauma, but
But
it does
it's
happen.
reality.
And anybody in the
Yeah.
motorcycling world
That's right.
understands it. But even they say, because the things they've learned and the things that they have to do when there's this many people and a lot coming into ERs and stuff, it improves their facilities. Without saying it in a bad way, it's like training for them in a way.
Yeah.
To kind of, because until you actually go through it, but every time you do, it just gets better and better and better and better. And they're phenomenal at what they do, which again, that stays with the community. We have people all the time in media, and everybody else is always interested in this, and they're just like, how do you know how many people come? You can't go one,
Right.
two.
Yeah.
It's not a gated
That's
event.
right.
Some people come
Right.
for a day, some come for an hour, some come for 10, some are vendors,
Mhm.
some are corporate, some are actual visit, and it's all around Central Florida.
That's
So
right.
how do
Right.
you measure something like that? So, previously they did all these crazy surveys, like how much trash, how much water, how much all this, and they would throw these numbers out. We had an economist do it one time, probably about 20 years ago, which came up with some really substantial numbers. An economist can do it. So we thought, we haven't had an economist do it. How much is it? It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars
Oh,
now.
to get
Yeah.
that done?
It's a
Wow.
measure.
Holy smoke.
And then we thought, well, why do we need these numbers, right? What do we really see? Is it just a
Right.
quote in the newspaper? Is it just to say we had this? But
Yeah.
actually, so, we look at the other events, and Sturgis is our sister event. We love Sturgis. It's a great event. It's a different platform than what we
Yeah.
do, but it's one of the big guys out
For
there,
sure.
right? And Sturgis did the same thing. They did like traffic counts, how many times somebody ran over that little hose, and all that stuff. And it just was so hard to really figure out. But then I think they were the first ones that got into this Placer AI, that
Mhm.
kind of, it measures cell phones and mobility and,
Yep.
how many people are coming in, where they're moving to. So the digital world really helped us in that regard, and
Yeah.
they, interestingly enough, the first year they did it, they had some storms and stuff like that. The numbers that they were quoting, we call from the WAG method, which is wild ass guess.
Wild ass.
We sort of the WAG method.
That's funny.
Wound up being less, and so our city was like, we want to know this. We want to know how many people
course.
are coming in. And those things aren't cheap either, but the
Yeah.
city of Daytona Beach has so many events. It was a good investment for them. So they did the Placer AI this year and put it in place. And our numbers were bigger than what we said.
What did the
So-
numbers
Nice.
come to?
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, they counted something like 423,000 visitors that represented 668,700 visits.
Wow.
So that's, and
Gee.
it was huge. It wound up being like 669,000 people in 2024.
Wow. So that's 10
Ah.
days worth.
10 days. And that's only in the city of Daytona Beach.
Correct. That's
right?
not even
I mean,
including
Wow.
Portland,
St.
we have
Augustine.
all these
Right.
other-
All
yeah.
that area where people stay and then come
Only-
in. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Jeez.
our numbers were like phenomenal because we have people always saying, well, why do you call yourselves the world's largest motorcycle event? What makes yours the world's largest motorcycle event? So of course I go back to the forefathers and the ones that I knew and I had a chance to talk to. And I said, we guys, how did we come up with this? And what was this whole, and again, George Mirabal said, well, he goes, back in the day that there were a lot of things that were the biggest in the world and the largest in the world. And he said,
Yeah.
we're the largest motorcycle event because we said so.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's right.
Data is a beautiful thing now too.
And I thought, oh, I love that. I mean, not just to me, it set their mind, it set their place, and you are not going to argue with these guys. We're the biggest. You can measure it any way you want to. We
Right.
are the world's largest
Right,
motorcycle.
right.
Because we said so. Like to the town's best cup of coffee in New York City. That's
'Cause we said-
hysterical.
But interesting, now we've got some numbers to actually show
Do,
to
do
it.
you
so
have
we can
data?
actually-
Back it
Do you
up.
have data of like what bike week you thought might be the biggest you've ever had? Or like I know when the economy's great, right? Obviously, more people are doing things, more people are traveling, more people are doing. And when the economy's down, less people are investing, they're saving their money because they can't afford hotels or whatever the case may be. Is there a year that stands out in the last maybe 5-10 years that's really been, or is it pretty steady across?
Yeah, no, it does fluctuate. It goes up and down for those very same reasons. But from what I understand from like our forefathers and what we see today, 50th anniversary was the largest.
50th anniversary.
The largest they had ever seen.
So that must have been
You know,
over
the
1 million
economy was
people then.
great. Harley was on a high roll then.
Right.
It was like that was like huge. And I don't even know what the numbers were, but they said it was definitely the
What year was
50th.
that, Janet? Do you remember?
Well, let's see. We're at 84 now.
So 84, so
math
30
on that?
years, 34 years ago. So that's what, 1990.
Let me turn my light on. Yeah, I'd have to do the math.
Yeah. Let me
on it.
do that. Let me
90.
do that quick too.
1990, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 1990. So that was 50th.
1990.
Wow.
Spring break was big back then
Right.
too. So
Spring
you had
break
to
was so much.
college kids at the same time. And they say that's another thing because the community let go of spring break. It just got too, I mean, it was just too much. Because we went from races to bike week to spring break. So it was like a lot for the community to deal with. Plus it was just getting kind of out of hand. But you figure all those kids from college were blending with bikers
Yeah.
and they were kind of getting a taste of what this whole thing was
Right,
all
right,
about,
right.
liking it.
Yeah.
To be part of it. So when you broke that away, we think that had a lot to do with,
Wow.
what kind of affected that industry as well. Because
Gotcha.
you pulled that experience out. What happened?
Which crowd was the biggest troublemakers? The Daytona crowd, the bike week crowd, or the spring break crowd?
Spring break, definitely.
Yeah.
Kids and
Easy.
alcohol, man. It's a
Oh my gosh.
recipe for disaster.
Yeah, a lot of stories there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I went to him in college, man. We used to drive up to Daytona all the time from Boston, so we used to come up here all the time for spring break. I think we did it like 3 years in a row. So, it's great time. So, let me ask.
Yeah, I loved it because I was in the beer business then.
Right,
so,
for
and
sure.
my
Right.
car was a red Corvette that on the back
Jeez.
said it's Miller time.
Nice,
And
nice.
we
Business
drive
is
around.
good.
And, oh my gosh, we had so much fun.
That's
We're
hysterical.
talking about all this. What do you think sets Daytona Bike Week and Biketoberfest apart from other motorcycle events that go around the country? I know a lot that's similar, but in your opinion, what do you think makes you guys what you are?
Well, first, it's Florida Beach, one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. It comes at a time when you're coming out of the cold and it's into the nice sunshine, and people are tired of being all boxed up, closed up, bikes put away. So they have the opportunity to get out, be in the sunshine, enjoy some good friends. But I think it's really the people and the history, because this event has been going on for so long
Right.
that I when I was with the CVB and I used to travel all across the country, I would see people with Bike Week shirts on everywhere I went. I would go to events like Sunfest or the Kentucky Dirt, and I'd see people in Bike Week shirts.
That's right.
So just it's spread so far and across the world. I get email from people across the world in foreign languages. And I've got, where's my translator? I don't know what they're saying. And,
Oh, cool.
but they want to come to it. They want to be part of it. They've heard of it. And when we were at the Harley store, we would notice like people would come in, and even if they weren't riders or had a Harley, oh, my best friend at work rides a Harley,
Right.
and I just want to get him a Daytona shirt.
Right.
Or my brother, he's
Yeah.
always been into biking. I got to get a Daytona shirt for him. So it's just everybody knows about it, and everybody's experienced it in their own way. So I think that's just part of it. But it's just the history and the stories and the
Agreed.
transitions and generations. And I can tell you one thing about Bike Week that really touches me beyond like any other event that I've ever done. And it's kind of one of those really strange but poignant stories because I've got that, where you tag any media that comes out that has the word Bike Week in it, right? So you do the alert
Mhm.
because I like to know what stories are being written, what are they
Sure.
saying, where is it coming from? And
Yep.
I can tell you, I at least every day or every other day, here, hold on a second.
Oh.
I get obituaries sent to me. Because in a newspaper, it's written about this person's life, and Bike Week is in their obituary. That they went to it, they enjoyed it, they loved it, they have so many fond memories of it. And so when I think that the last words of your life,
Right.
this event is written in, that's something.
Man,
That's something.
Cool. That's
how
cool.
edifying is that? Curious, change gears a little bit, looking towards the future. Do you have any initiatives or developments that you're working on to either improve the event, or maybe it's an unrelated event? What's going on that's kind of new and exciting?
We always look for something that's new and exciting. And the good part about it locally is that, as businesses have grown and changed ownership, there's a lot of new, younger executives coming into the community. There's new owners that are coming in. Bruce
New
Rossmeyer
ideas.
sold to Teddy
Yeah,
Morris,
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
Teddy Morris is just like this phenomenal guy. You mean, you just wonder where the heck did this guy come
Right.
from, right?
Yeah.
But just bringing in all new ideas and events and activities. Harley Corporate has new people, and of course, they travel across the country and see all these different things. And we always like to be in a visionary position. We want to do things differently, try things new, put some different stuff out there. So we've gotten much better at marketing and communications. We start to make sure that the businesses know what the consumer really needs. We position the event where it's attractive to all generations, and it continues to attract new generations. So racing, our partners at Racing now, they've redefined their races, and they're starting to do different activities. We had a group come in this year that did arena races. And, for
Yeah.
young generations, they like sitting in
Yeah.
an arena, getting a beer,
Right.
watching these guys go crazy again. It's like that whole craziness on the platforms and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're always looking at that and trying to improve it and do better and bring some new things into the world of motorcycling.
That's cool.
That's cool. Thanks.
Where can people find information regarding Daytona Beach Bike Week, Biketoberfest? What social media avenues do you guys put out there that listeners can check into? We'll put this in the show notes so they can just click on and check everything out. Well, where can they find?
We have officialbikeweek.com. That's our primary website. And that's also the name that we use with social media. So if you if you're searching for the official Bike Week and you type that in, you'll get like our Facebook, our TikToks, our Twitters, all that, or X. I mean,
Right.
all the platforms that are out there that'll come up. But I can tell you, we're not alone in this world when it comes to marketing and promoting Bike Week, because like partners of Harley Davidson, they're out there pre-promoting Bike Week, putting things about Bike Week on there. They have beautiful pages for what they do in Bike Week in Daytona Beach. And they have like 5 million followers around the
it's
world.
crazy.
So,
Yeah.
you know, and of course, Amsoil does it. Daytona Beverages, which is Budweiser, does it for us. So these, all these corporations that are coming in are local businesses, Boot Hill
Right.
Saloon, you know, Iron Horse, all of those
Yep.
guys that have their own pages. So there's so many places that you can go and
Gotcha.
find information on biking, and we share everything we can because we want everybody to know the right information.
And
So
Chamber of Commerce website also provides information.
we have a little, I mean, that's really our business
Right.
website. So that's why we have official bike week. You know, because we're still a chamber. We have to, of course, we have a link
Understand.
to bike week.
Right,
You know,
right,
to kind
right.
of, you know.
Right.
That's cool. Hey,
That's
anything you wanna maybe say before we get into the speed round questions to people who have always wanted to come to Daytona for Bike Week or for Biketoberfest or for Daytona 500 that maybe haven't? You want to kind of give them a little tidbit before we go on to the speed round?
I just say do it. I mean, just get out there and explore the world and do the things that you've always wanted to do. And that comes right from where my parents were, you know. You work hard and you do all these things and you take care of your families and you take care of your home. You have to take care of yourself. You have to do what brings you joy and bring your families out and do fun things. Spend the time, spend the money, come on out, experience it yourself. You don't have to stay the whole 10 days. You can come a day, you can come
Yep.
5 days, you can come whatever you want. And the Daytona Beach area is the same way. There's so much to see and do. Even when the event's not going on, you can experience Main Street just by walking down it and picture it and see it. Our Daytona International Speedway, we have people that walk across there and it's like, oh my God, I'm here. And it's a big, huge, magnificent place. And there's so much history here, so much to do, but parks, recreation, we have a beautiful esplanade. It's just a great place to go and be. So treat yourself. Give yourself something special because if you want to be an interesting person, you have to have interesting stories,
Absolutely.
right? So go somewhere, do something, be somewhere, and you'll have lots of interesting
Yeah,
stories.
and there's so much fun. There's
Great
so
advice.
much to do, from live music to races to my goodness, you'll never be bored there. That's for sure. There's a lot to do there, and when you're done with the city part of it, you can jump on the bike, take a ride up A1A to St. Augustine, or go over across state, ride in the back roads out there. There's just so much to do. You guys will absolutely love it. Daytona's a beautiful place, very motorcycle friendly and very kind. So you guys do a great
Thank you very
do a
much.
great job out there. It's amazing the amount of work. Thank you for sharing that with us, because we never realized the amount of work that really goes into it. Everybody sees the final product. They come in, they come out, but nobody knows the meat and potatoes of getting this thing ready. And that's a lot of work that's on your plate every year.
It is, but I love it. And I'll tell you one other thing, that even if you want to come here and do nothing and sit on the beach, it's probably one of the best things
Nice
you
to do
Beautiful
that too.
beaches. Yep.
sit on the beach, be in nature, watch the waves. It's
Yep.
just so good for your soul.
Yep.
Yep. And it's got a cool old feeling to it also. A lot of like fun older buildings on the strip there.
Yeah,
It's a cool town.
Daytona's a great town.
That was actually my first Biketoberfest was last year, and going to that event, it was awesome. I had an absolute blast. So it's really cool. I'm excited to go to Bike Week. All right, you ready for a speed round? Some fun questions?
Ready.
All right. First off, I have to ask you, do you ride?
I do.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. All right. I don't have to change some things then. All right. All right. 2 minutes on the clock. Mark the time. We are good to go. All right. Favorite motorcycle you've ever owned or ridden?
Harley Davidson.
Which
I'm
bike?
sorry,
Which bike do you have?
I don't have one
No,
right
currently
now.
none. Okay.
No. I used
right.
to ride back then. I don't ride right now.
Got it. All right.
Gotcha. So the next question is a little tricky then. Back when you did ride, if your motorcycle could talk, what would it say about you?
Get this girl off of me.
All right. Good. You rode the heck out of it then.
All right. Best place you've ever ridden and why?
It has to be the back roads of Florida, just because it's so beautiful and just the scenery and the just nature itself is
Agreed.
absolutely beautiful.
What's the most embarrassing song on your playlist?
Probably, well, I don't know if it's embarrassing. It's, because I start singing.
That's
It
good.
would probably be Elvis Presley's Suspicious Minds.
Oh.
Because I sing pretty loudly.
Yeah.
I love Elvis. I'm sorry.
Elvis rocks. He's awesome.
That's awesome. If you could time travel, which era would you go to and why?
I would say the 50s, because that just seemed like such a fun time. If I could be an adult in the
cool.
50s and just all
Oh,
the
yeah.
fun things there were to see and do and how progressive this country
Right,
was
right,
back
right.
then.
That changeover. I know it's a beautiful time. Wasn't
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Favorite motorcycle movie of all time?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't know.
We can
it?
pass.
Yeah, yeah.
One,
Okay.
yeah, I'll
We'll
pass.
pass on that
Yeah.
one.
All right. Who was your movie crush when you were a teenager?
My movie crush would be George Clooney.
George Clooney. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. If you could meet and have dinner with one person from any point in history, who would it be?
My mom.
Nice.
Aw. Love that.
Did you lose her at a
Okay,
young age?
one.
What's that?
Did you lose her at a young age?
I was in my mid-20s.
Mid-20s, a young age.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Young enough.
Yeah.
Yep. One law you would change if you were president to impact the motorcycle community.
Oh my gosh, these are tough questions.
Behave during bike week. Give me less work and worry.
Gosh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to pass on that
All
one
right,
too,
all
because helmets are, helmets are discretionary, and I get both sides of it, so I don't. Yeah, that's fun.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. We get lane filtering a lot. That's usually the
Oh,
answer 90% of the time.
Right.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I would say, no matter how hard things get, just really stick with it, and just because someone says something doesn't mean it's true.
Very good one.
Here's a fun one. If you,
Right?
yeah, right. If you could get up and sing or jam with one band, which band would it be?
Oh, that's easy. Elvis Presley.
Right. Sure,
Yeah.
sure, I already
Okay,
said that.
cool. What's one piece of clothing that you love but your significant other can't stand?
Yeah, Daytona Beach bike week shirt from
Is-
1980.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's printed, he can't stand. He likes just plain.
Plain
Uh,
colors.
Plain colors.
Yeah,
got
he's
it.
not. Yeah, he doesn't wear bike week shirts or race shirts or anything like that. I'm like, whatever it is, I'm in costume.
For
right?
sure,
I'm in
for
I'm in
sure.
the shirt. I'm in the,
Man,
wearing the flag.
Sure, that's your
He's
baby right
like-
there on the shirt. So it's
That's,
a lot of pride goes into that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
If they made a biker-themed movie about you, who would play Janet?
Pink.
Pink.
Pink?
Wow,
Cool.
nice.
All right, rock and
All
roll.
right.
And then back when you were riding, did you have any silly superstitions or OCD type things that you would do before or after a ride?
Not before or after, but during, like, because there was always semis and stuff like that. Because I had some friends that lost their lives because of semis and
Yeah.
people not paying attention. So that
Not seeing them.
and that big
Yeah,
thing's
yeah,
right
yeah,
next
for
to
sure.
the river. I get real. Oh, but you're not supposed to.
Nerve-wracking. Right.
When I first started riding a bike with my boyfriend back then, and he would lean. I would lean the other way because I would think he's gonna fall
Right.
over, and he finally went.
Counterbalancing.
That's
All
I don't understand your.
right, last question. So besides the One Gang podcast, if you listen to podcasts, what are some of your favorites?
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
Nice. That counts. All right. Ding, ding, ding. You made it.
All
Made
right,
it to the
all
speed
right.
round.
Great job, Janet.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. This is awesome insight. It is really cool. Like looking forward to next time we go to really think about and pay closer attention to all the little things. And the last thing I want to mention too is those pins for the police officers. That's awesome, not only for them, but also for identification purposes too, I'd imagine. That's pretty darn cool. I'm going to pull some of those up and show some
Janet,
pictures.
thank you so much for giving us your time. This has been awesome because I think anybody who rides or who goes to any of the events that's put on in Daytona have always been interested in what takes place. So for you to give us this in-depth look of the hard work that you and your team are constantly working on every single year to prepare, make sure everybody's safe, has a good time, the businesses are in a good place. I mean, you have so many children to take care of, you know, on the outside, that the responsibility is pretty solid. So you're doing an amazing job. Keep up the great work, and totally awesome from Ben and I to have a chance to sit down and chat with you and meet you personally. So thank you so much.
Yep, seriously.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And it's great to give everybody sort of that behind the scenes view.
Yeah, it's so cool.
All right, be safe.
Well, thanks, Janet.
I guess Biketoberfest is the next event you got coming up. So enjoy it. We'll hopefully run into you there. If you're out and about, maybe we can reach out and meet you for a bite to eat or something, and get a chance to meet you face to face.
Well, that sounds great. Or you could always stop by our offices.
That's true,
We're right
too.
here
That's
at
true,
the Chamber
too.
Building.
Yeah,
Come
that's
on
right.
over. We'd love to show you. We just remodeled our whole business too,
Nice.
so it's pretty awesome.
Nice.
All right, cool.
All right, we'll make it up.
There you go.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janet.